In today's video I'm going to do what I love doing the most, and that is setting up a high-tech nano aquascape, MJ style. So a very simple hardscape, lots of colorful plants and hopefully a beautiful end result. But I'm not just going to show you guys how to set it up, I'm also going to give you some tips and tricks on how to get through the first few weeks without too many issues. So let's get started. Okay, so let's get straight to it. The tank that we're going to be scaping today is a 45p. Now if these numbers and letters are new to you, let me quickly explain. The numbers usually determine the length of the aquarium, and the letters determine the size or the shape of the aquarium actually. So this 45p means it's 45 centimeters in length, and P stands for a standard size aquarium. If you have a cube tank, it's usually the C, so it's a 30C for example. The long tank behind me is a 90B, so it's 90 centimeters in length, and B because it's a bookshelf aquarium. It's very long, very narrow. Yeah, I don't know who came up with this system, but that's just how it is. Today we're setting up a 45p. Now this one is from Spiderwood, which is a European company. Really nice, high quality optic white glass. Actually has these 45-degree mid-third edges as well. As you can see, the glass is cut at an angle. Looks pretty cool. I've had this tank for a while. It's actually been in storage. It's been used before, so it's not in pristine condition, but it's good enough. Let's move on to the light. I just got a brand new light from Twinstar. This is the Twinstar 450 EC number 4. Okay, so we have the light unit itself, looking really good. It comes with a little remote, so we can choose a 6, 8 hour or 10 hour photo period. Has a dimmer function, on off button, and the standard EU plug. Now full transparency, this light was sponsored. I didn't pay for it. I actually recently got the same light from Twinstar, but in a smaller version, and I've been using that one for a couple of weeks and I just really liked it. So I reached out to them again, asking if I could have another one, and they kindly agreed to that, so thank you Twinstar. Okay, so I just plugged it in, so it's now slowly ramping up, but we don't have time for that, so let's just see. I think that's full power. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6 steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I just love the acrylic stance, it just makes it look very clean. But enough about this light, let's keep moving on. Next thing we need is a little foam mat for underneath the tank. I still had this piece left over from a previous project, and I think that, yeah, it's exactly 45 centimeters in length. I just need to make it a little bit shorter, but let's first stick it to the base of the aquarium. And the easiest way to do that is just with some double-sided tape. Okay, then we just flip it around. Place the tank on the edge, and then you can just cut off all the excess. And this is not a suitable knife at all, but there's no going back now. So usually at this point I will move on to adding a background, and I always do that with this self-adhesive frosted window film. But for this tank I have something a little bit more fancy. So something else I had in storage is this LED background, and this is just like a really fancy gadget. So I've used this one a couple of times already, and it just fits perfectly on this tank. So let's plug it in. Here we go. Not sure how that looks on camera, but let's take a look. Yeah, so that looks a little bit odd right now. It's quite bright, but once we're done with the layout and the plants are in there, the hardscape is in there, you're not going to see most of the background. Like you only see like maybe 20% of it. And yeah, once it's done, it will look pretty good. Because that's the hardware done for now. Next up, let's move on to the substrate. Now I mentioned at the beginning of this video that I want to give you some tips and tricks on how to set up the aquarium so you will have very little issues, especially at the beginning, Like we all know that the first few weeks of a new aquarium are always the most difficult because you need to kind of find the right balance. So let's start with tip number 1. And tip number 1 is to use some old substrate. So a couple of days ago I took down another layout and I actually saved all the substrate in this trash bag right here. So this stuff is full of beneficial bacteria. It's really going to kickstart this new setup. Here we go. So it's just a mix of Aquasoil and some crushed lava rock. So this stuff is full of beneficial bacteria, but there's probably not a whole lot of nutrients anymore. And I want to use a lot of plants in here, so I'm just going to add some more nutrients with some root tabs. And the root tabs of choice are these ones from APT, also called APT Jazz. And I'll show you, these are just normal capsules. Now you can leave these whole and just add a few to the substrate and then just cover it with something else. But I actually like to open these capsules and just sprinkle them kind of all over, you know. Okay, so we have our old substrate, we have the nutrition capsules. I've used about 10 of them. Last step is to add in some fresh Aquasoil. And as always, I'm going to be using the Aquasoil from Dental Plants. Not going to go for any cosmetic scent, so this will be the last step of the substrate. Okay, so the substrate is done, it's looking good. We have a nice slope towards the back for that extra sense of depth. So we can now move on to the hardscape. Now I mentioned at the beginning of this video that this is going to be an MJ style layout. MJ meaning simple hardscape, lots of plants. Another thing that's very MJ is the choice of wood for today. I'm going to be using Spiderwood again. I love working with this stuff, I use it a lot. It's just very easy to make something nice with it, you know. So I have a couple of really nice pieces. The only downside of this stuff is the mold or the slime that's going to grow on this wood for the first few weeks, but I have a tip later on for how I'm going to handle that. Okay, the hardscape box. So let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of Spiderwood. I have the rocks in here as well, but I'll show you those in a minute. Let's first see what we can come up with this. Okay, so this piece right here has a flat edge, so this is perfect to go all the way on the left side. And you guys know that I'm a big fan of triangular style layouts. This one's going to be no different. I feel like this piece would look really nice if it would lay flat, sort of in this direction. And then with this piece we can continue the triangular line. Here we go, that's kind of what I was looking for. I think you can always see where I'm going with this. And then again, I'm going to have tall stem plants on the left side. And it's gonna like taper down towards the right. Now let's add in some rocks. So the rocks that I've chosen are from Weo. These are called Titan rocks. Titan rocks. So they're like grayish, bluish. And according to Weo, they should not alter the water parameters. So let's hope that they're right. So apparently MJ forgot to press record. And now the rocks are in. You guys didn't see that process. Doesn't matter? I don't think so. Here's the end result, guys. The hardscape is done. Let's move on to the next step. Well, I've actually just noticed that this piece right here has got a very big stump area. And there's literally no space for plants there. So I'm thinking to take a saw and cut a big piece of that stump. I think that'll be better. Okay, so I've removed a big piece of that stump. So now in the background it's completely clear and there's plenty of space for stem plants. So I think that's the hardscape done for now. The only thing I have to do is to glue everything together, as always with cotton pads, super glue. You guys have seen this 100 times already, so let's just do a quick time lapse. Okay, so the hardscape is done, everything's glued together. Now comes the interesting part. See, normally at this point I would just plant a tank, but that's not really what we're going to be doing today. See, at the time of filming, it is now the 16th of November. And when you guys are going to see this video, it's probably maybe 2 months later, something like that. The plan is to bring this tank to its final location on the other side of the room. I'm going to fill up with water and I'm going to install a filter, but that's it. And I'm going to leave it alone for 3 to 4 weeks. So basically I'm going to be doing a dark start. I'm sure some people have already heard about this, but a dark start is basically a way of cycling the aquarium before you plant it. So we're not going to use any light, just a filter, maybe a heater as well. So the Spiderwood can go through this mold fungus phase, and hopefully after 4 weeks that's done, then I can clean it and I can drain the water and then plant it. And by doing this I can just save myself a lot of headache, because this mold, this fungus, it's just very annoying, you know, it's very dirty, and it also has a chance of melting some sensitive plants. It has happened to me a lot in the past where I'm planting some in vitro plants, then this mold appears and those plants just start melting. So that's just what I'm trying to avoid here. So dark side it is. Okay, fast forward, it's been just over 2 weeks. Today is the 1st of December, and today we're going to continue with the build. I originally said that I was going to do a dark start for 4 weeks, but I feel like the mold phase hasn't been as intense as I anticipated, so we can plant it early. So I've just spent a few minutes cleaning the wood with a toothbrush, just removing all the slime, and after that I just drained the tank and moved it back to the table. So we're now basically ready for planting. So I've ordered a bunch of in vitro pots, and I've actually placed the order from 2 different websites. That was a bit of a mistake because the first one just came in and the other order is still on the way. I have no idea when it's coming. But I've ordered only in vitro pots, and some of these in vitros are looking a little bit questionable. So I'm thinking that if I leave these plants in this pot for a lot longer, then they're just going to start melting. So I want to just get them into the tank as soon as possible, you know. So we're going to do the planting in 2 steps as well. So we'll plant today and we'll plant a bit more when the other shipment is coming in. Yeah, so let me just quickly prepare all these plants and then we can continue. Okay, so plants are all prepared. Like I said, they were all in vitro, so kind of just looks like a green mush right now. I have a lot of different stem plants. I have some Hygrophila pinnatifida to go on the wood, some really small Bucephalandra, and for the foreground I have Leliopsis brasiliensis. Let's get started with this one. Okay, so that's the first part of the planting done. It's looking good already, but we still have a few empty spots here and there. Those will be filled up later in a few days from now. So I'm going to bring the tank back to its original location and fill up with new water. That's always a question I get when I'm talking about the dark start. After the dark start is done, you want to make sure you fill up with fresh water again. The old water, just throw it out. So about 4 or 5 days have passed. Everything is going well. I was a little bit worried that some of the tissue culture plants that were in bad shape would melt, but it seems like everything is doing fine. Already seeing some new growth, so really happy about that. There is still a little bit of fungus on some of the wood, but it's not really getting worse, so I'm just going to siphon it out with the next water change. And yeah, yesterday the rest of the plants arrived, so we can add them in now. Let me show you what I got. So we have Anubias minicoin, we have Crypt nudi, Marsilea minuta. This used to be Marsilea crenata. This is a new name. And lastly, we have Houtonia palustris. Never used this plant before. Should be good for the midground, so very curious about it. So I'm going to drain the aquarium one more time, add in those last plants, then I'll fill it back up again, and then I'm going to leave it alone for a good 2 to 3 weeks. Of course, do a few water changes in between, but I'm not going to make any changes to the tank anymore. Okay guys, fast forward one last time, I promise. It's now the 31st of January and we started on the 16th of November, so that means it's like 2.5 to 3 months for this entire setup. I think it's done right now. I think it looks really good. Now the point of this video was to show you guys my favorite style of setup, a high-tech planted nano. I think that's definitely worked. I think the end result is nice, I'm happy with it. The other thing I wanted to show you was how to set up an aquarium in a way that you can avoid all these startup issues. Now I could tell you that I had 0 algae and everything was perfect, but that would be a bit of a lie because we did have an algae outbreak. But that was just because I made a silly mistake and it had nothing to do with the way the aquarium was set up. So I'll overlay some clips and you can see that we had a lot of hair algae. And that was simply because I was not injecting enough CO2. Kind of dumb because I always give people advice about CO2. And I always tell them, make sure you use a CO2 drop checker. Now I am using a drop checker on this tank as well, but it's this hang-on type, and these are just not very accurate. So it was showing green, but it just wasn't enough CO2, you know. So to get rid of the hair algae, I just started to inject more CO2. I also started to add some liquid carbon, and yeah, like now a few weeks later, most of the hair algae is gone. Still a few bits and pieces left in the carpet, but it's barely visible. And let's talk about the inhabitants. So I first added a group of orange New Carolina shrimp. These guys are beautiful, like the orange color is really popping, especially underneath this Twinstar Light. Almost look like they're glowing. I haven't seen any babies yet, so I'm not sure if they're breeding in here. Besides that, I've also added my Galaxy Koi Betta. I've had him for a while. I think he's quite old already, and he also has a lump on his dorsal fin. It doesn't seem to be bothering him, but it is getting bigger, so I have to say that I'm a little bit worried about him. Then I've also added a group of ruby tetras. Now these guys were super shy. They were constantly hiding in the background plant, so I never saw them. Of course, I was not enjoying that. So yeah, the last inhabitants to go in was a group of threadfin rainbows. Now these guys are way more comfortable. They don't really shy. They don't really care, and because of that, the ruby tetras are now also more comfortable. So yeah, really happy about that. So I'm really enjoying this tank. There's two things that I want to change or improve. First up, the background stem plants. So especially on the left side, we have about 4 or 5 different stem plants, but they're all kind of the same color, like this orangey, pinkish, reddish color. There's just not really a lot of contrast on that side, you know. So I think we can improve that. So I might, yeah, just add some more green or something. Just not sure yet. And the other thing I'm not sure about is the illuminated background, the light screen. I mean, it does look pretty cool with the light screen, but sometimes when it's off, I also enjoy it. So I'll overlay 2 clips, one with the light screen and one without the light screen, and then you guys can just tell me what you prefer. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's the end of the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.